In this video, I'll explain 2 o'clock, or a las dos. This is the structure for 2 o'clock. You start with a V1, which is the first verb in the sentence. Then you have porque, tan que, or a G2. After that comes V2, the second verb in the sentence, which has 2 options. It's either N for normal, in other words, the indicative, if the sentence is affirmative, or it's in the subjunctive, S, if the sentence is negative. I'll show you some examples so it's more clear. Here's an example of a sentence at 2 o'clock. Te quiero porque hueles bien. I love you because you smell good. The V1, the first verb in the sentence, is indicative, like normal. The second verb, V2, is also indicative. The reason why is because the sentence is affirmative. In order for a sentence to be affirmative, you just need to not have a no. I haven't shown you an example of a negative sentence with porque yet because it gets kind of complicated. But let's see more examples. Here's an example with tan que. Eres tan inteligente que lo sabes todo. Means you are so smart that you know everything. Tan means so, and que means that, so it's making some kind of comparison. You can also replace tan with tanto, tantas, tanta, etc. So this V1 is in the indicative, and so is the V2. But what happens when we make the sentence negative? So if we make the sentence negative, we put no in front of the V1. No eres tan inteligente que lo sepas todo. The sentence is saying, you're not so smart that you know everything. Since the sentence is negative, since there's a no in the sentence, we put the V2 in the subjunctive. Just like with 1 o'clock, we have the option of replacing the V1 with a special kind of verb known as a G2. It's called G2 because it's at 2 o'clock. These are the rules for a G2. Type 1 verbs don't really fit into the G2 category except for one, and that's parecer. Me parece que. That's the only verb from type 1 that fits in G2. The second type of verb is ser and estar, and the only type of verb that fits here is the verb ser when it's used with the 5 words from the indicative expressions. If you don't remember those, it's es verdad que, es obvio que, es cierto que, es evidente que, y es seguro que. And then finally, verbs of type 3 and 4 are G2 when they express certainty, like creer, pensar, etc. So here's an example with a G2. We use the verb creer, which means to think or to believe. So the sentence says, I think that you are very nice. Creo que eres muy amable. The V2 is conjugated in the indicative because it's an affirmative sentence. But then we have the opposite, the negative version of the sentence, which has no. No creo que seas muy amable. Seas is the same verb, but it's conjugated in the subjunctive because the sentence is negative. Now I want to revisit the first part of the video with porque, because at 2 o'clock there exists something called el porqué peligroso that I want to explain to you. Hang on to your seats, because it's pretty tough. In order to understand el porqué peligroso, we first have to understand the expression sino que. Sino by itself means but rather. Sino que means but rather that, and what you can do with que is put another verb after it. This is a sentence with el porqué peligroso. It says, no te quiero porque huelas bien, sino porque tienes un carro caro. What it's saying in English is, I don't love you because you smell good, but rather because you have an expensive car. So there are actually 3 verbs in this sentence. The first verb is the V1, which we're pretty familiar with. Then we have porque, but the V2 is in the subjunctive because the sentence is negative. It starts with no. But then we have a third verb, and the third verb comes after another porque. The reason why this third verb is in the indicative is because it's telling us the real reason why the speaker loves the person he or she's talking to. So the person's saying, I don't love you because you smell good, even though you smell good. I love you because you have an expensive car. This person's a little shallow. Here's another example with somebody who's a little bit less shallow. No te quiero porque seas rico, sino porque te gusta el fútbol. I don't love you because you're rich, but rather because you like soccer. That's a good reason, right?